I don't believe trade is the main driver of that, but I'll grant that it does happen sometimes.
Who cares about bringing money? Okay, the whole idea of running like a business.
I don't really think it's something that you should take. I don't know.
The argument against charging people rent?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, typically the philosophical argument against
that's a legitimate criticism. Because, I mean, you look at why USAID was even invented.
So, I don't know. Like, I think a recurring theme or a recurring trend is that
less and less government. I want personal responsibility. I want personal accountability.
say that I'm like left of liberal. I don't identify as like a communist or any of this stuff. Probably like why would that be revelatory to know that water boils in?
About people who are diplomats or ambassadors from other.
Did I say that? Did I say that it was theoretically possible to include like it increase?
Natural society is a society where it's survival of.
You can. What you're describing, you can't do. It's, first of all, not what I'm talking about. And second of all, we can't.
So basically, like, even your Lord and Savior Donald Trump didn't do the best job.
That nature, we refer to it as being conscious, or the conscious community.
So I think that gay marriage at the Constitution at the Supreme Court level actually.
No, but my man just is in the building.
And I find it very interesting that fellow believers are.
Sure, there are examples, but these are minor examples compared to the ones that I'm giving. I'm talking about two.
It's unconstitutional, they shouldn't do it. But now they're arguing about, well, if they do it.
This video's a little blonde hair.
Yeah, that's what your mom said last night too.
Let's ignore USAID. That's obviously upsetting you, and I get that. Because
no, it's not upsetting me.
There's a reason I'm successful. There's a reason why I'm liked.
This is exactly why Democrats.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. I am Sarah, the Raging Tomato, here bringing to you live another Throwdown Thursday with the caveat that we do know and understand it is Wednesday night tonight. We did not get our schedule wrong. We just switched it up just to mess with all of you. It's all Vybe's fault, or Vybe, whichever way he's sitting on me.
It is my fault. And every once in a while, you know, we do Taco Tuesday on Sunday. And my daughter's always like, Dad, it's Sunday. We can't do Taco Tuesday on Sunday. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
We absolutely can. I like to really change it up at home and do Taco Tuesday on Mondays and really like throw my kids off. That really messes with them. We did Taco Wednesday tonight, by the way, with some red velvet cupcakes. It was delicious. It was the best thing I've had since sliced bread. So,
Tuesday with velvet cupcakes.
Yeah, red velvet cupcakes with the cream cheese whipped icing. Oh my God, it was delicious.
Nice.
Yeah, see what I mean? Anything with cheesecake, it just all goes with it. Anywho, tonight Vybe is ready for his 1v9, including me, because I'm just ready to dive in on which way. If he says we're all doing it wrong, that means we're all gonna have something or somebody or some statement to combat here. I have a feeling everybody's going to come after Vybe, and it's going to be a fun night. So buckle up, shut up, and be ready. As well as we will drop the link to the open panel here in approximately an hour or so. So if you want to start taking notes now, play some Blues Clues, and be ready to come up and add into the discussion or yell at Vybe and tell him he's completely off his rocker, or come up and just join in and maybe defend him as well. So be ready for that. Outside of that, Vybe has made the claim that gender, the left and right are doing it wrong. Vybe, I'm going to leave it to you, sir. Lay your claim.
Yeah, I think this is this is such a hot topic. Everybody gets like so obsessed with it. Matter of fact, half of your panels end up going into these discussions, right? Everybody's just like, a man is a man. No, a man can be a woman. Like everybody just freaking jumps into it. And I don't think anybody really looks at the science and really looks at the psychology and the nature and the nurture, what everything actually says. I actually have a sneaky suspicion, and maybe I'm wrong, that after I get through landing my plane, and thank God I have an hour to land my plane, that a lot of people are going to be like, oh, crap, that kind of makes sense. So, yeah, I mean, to kind of dive into it, I like building. I'm an engineer by heart, so I like to build with the base and keep on building on top of that. And so I have a few different things that I want to talk with you about, Sarah. Mm-hmm. which is basically starting off with sex and then going to gender, then
Okay.
nature, nurture. And after we look at all the science behind that and what the statistics show, kind of go into where the right and the left are both going wrong and a prescription on how we can move forward better. And actually, most importantly, I have 3 kids, you have kids. How do we make sure that the nature of our kids can excel by our nurture and us nurturing them correctly? So I'm really excited for this opportunity to be able to actually go a little bit deeper than most people would go on this, and just like the whole concept. I see Ben Shapiro. I see, all these guys, they screaming, "What is a woman?" And it's such a blanket statement. But every once in a while, I hear little clues that they actually know what's going on. They just get so many subscriptions and views off of just go like that claim, like Matt Walsh. He's the guy that did "What is a Woman." They're always like getting the clickbait from that. But every once in a while, I hear hints that they actually know what's going on, but they don't actually expose it to everybody. And so I'm here essentially to kind of expose what everybody else actually, I think, already knows deep in their heart that I think is true. I think the science shows is true. And really, we're all ignoring. So I thank you, Sarah, for having me here and being able to throw all of this out there. And I'll even ask you, right? Like, what do you think the differences are between like sex and gender?
Well, sex is you are either man or woman. We have those anomalies, right? Where we have someone that kind of was born with a little bit of both of something going on and things get, mixed up in the bunch, but that's an anomaly and that's just a mutation, right? But I think gender is just kind of new social term that we like to throw out there now. I think it was more recent, like in our generation, they started adding in gender, I believe, where it's the your external features, right? Externally in terms of how you present to the world or socially, or are you feminine? Are you masculine? Are you, a girly girl? Are you a tomboy? Are you this? Are you that? Right? But I've always understood gender to be the same as sex. Right? I just don't think society deems it that way anymore. We just kind of took the word and fluffed it up and did whatever we wanted to with it. But when I say, when you get on your little medical chart and it says gender or something or sex or like, to me, they're the same. They're interchangeable. They should be the same thing. I'm either a boy or I'm either a girl. Which one is it? Right? With exception to those anomalies. But yeah, that's just what I've always viewed it as.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that really started striking me a little bit weird was with the new gender associations. If you look at it, they're actually saying that they're taking sex and gender and making them the same, just like you said. But now they're saying a man is assigned birth at sex, not like assigned. Like this doctor is sitting there going, "Oh crap, I know that sex, males and females are supposed to be around 50% in the population. Therefore," and I delivered 8 girls today and not 1 boy. So I'm going to assign this one a boy just to make the statistics right. Like assigning a sex is the craziest thing ever. And I understand with the gender, you could say, well, when the doctor says he's a boy, he's assigning them a boy role. But the whole gender war is basically saying, no. They're actually assigning a sex. So at one time, sex was sex and sex equaled gender. Then all of a sudden, gender started having variances all the way to the point where we got to today. And now we were actually reversing it, saying that gender equals sex, which is just crazy. So we first have to look at sex. And sex is pretty important here, right? So if we, and as I said, we're going to go through sex, we're going to go through gender, we're going to go through nature, we're going to go through nurture. If we look at sex, as you pointed out very correctly, right? Ultimately, sex is not binary. It's close to binary, but we basically have a male, which is XY. We have a female, which is XX, right? And there are anomalies in there. Those anomalies actually exist at like 0.018%. This is important because that means that sex is not binary. However, in that construct of the non-binary, they typically adopt the sex that they are most dominant as. So if you are having extra chromosomes or anything like that, you are going to dominantly have a, can I say penis?
Yes.
You're going to dominantly have a penis, and you're typically going to go down the path of being male. And there are rare cases where ultimately you've got chromosomal variations, you've got androgen, enzyme and hormone production differences, gonad variations, anatomical variations, but these are all very small. And ultimately, if you actually look at the psychology of the difference between somebody that isn't in the binary versus the people that are in these other categories, they all end up choosing to be in that category. So ultimately, like in one category or the other, male or female. So, and if you look at the psychology of those people, by the way, tons of studies on this, the psychology for those people of whether they're having gender dysphoria or any of these issues is exactly the same as the people that actually fit in the binary categories. So anybody that has any of the extra chromosomes, any of those extra things, really are not excluded. They're included in this, and they end up actually going down one or two of the paths. So ultimately, when it comes down to the sex is binary, even if the XX and the XY are not always identical. So does that track? Does that feel correct?
Yeah. So you're either way, you're going to fall into a column no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what. And even with the psychology still doesn't differ if you are outside of those. There are studies that shows there's a very slight variance on the psychology of these people where it's marginal, but there is a slight, like a 0.01% uptick in feeling like an outcast. And that's because of the genetic defect. The same as if you were born without an arm. Same if you were born with any variation from the norm. There is a variance in the psychology of that person of maybe not feeling fit to fit in, but not in a sexual way, but in just the way that if you didn't fall in the 99.1% of the people, anybody would feel like, okay, I'm different. Now I have to cope with that, right? So then we go into...
That's all psychology, though. How I feel, how I think, who I think I am, who I most... if you think about it, if for instance, if a guy is saying, oh, I feel like I'm a girl, well, you have to recognize that sex is sex then. You have to recognize there's two variations. You're either a boy or a girl if you feel like a girl, but you're a boy. You have to recognize that then there is a stark difference between a man and a woman. If you want to feel like you're one or the other, then that means you recognize and acknowledge there's only two. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And and you're jumping ahead of me.
Oh, sorry.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there, right? So we know that there is a biological fact that you're male or female, and we know there's an anomaly or an anomaly. Sorry,
anomalies.
Yeah, and
say that 3 times.
So we know that exists, right? And we know that we're born with chromosomes, and I mean that's just it's infallible. You can't change that, right? Now we do have gender, which is a new construct. This one is where everything starts getting complicated, and like what you were saying about men being a man or a man being a woman. So I was doing a lot of research on this, and I mean I started this whole thought that I was going through this with the left and the right being wrong. That it was a thought, it was a feeling, it was a vibe, right? And I don't like to just go with vibes. I like to really like dig in. And what I discovered here, kind of like feminism, and feminism actually comes into the picture on this, is postmodern world, sex equaled gender, and gender equaled your social role, right? So this is this is before we like came up with all these crazy ideas, and we had freedoms, by the way, freedoms to do whatever we want. Basically, we were the lack of freedom was that we all had to farm, we all had to get food, we all had to survive. We had roles that are gender supported. Therefore, nobody actually said because you're male, you go and kill the animals. They actually just said, well, men are better at killing the animals and the wives are better at producing. Therefore, let's not send the producers out to kill the animals because they're going to get killed. It was just nature, right? And this is where we're going to go next, is nature versus nurture, right? So the pre-modern world was all based on sex equals gender, no variance, and gender equal the social role based on science, right? It's pretty simple. A man was a man only because he had a male body and his male reproductive organs, and male coded. By the way, when I say coded, this is kind of important. Coded means he was born to do a job. Like his body, his testosterone, all these things have a specific purpose that defines his job and his duties, right? And a woman was a woman because she had a female body and female reproductive organs, and also female coded work ethics, right? They give birth. At birth, they're better at nurturing. These are just kind of standard biological things that just happen. So this was the pre-gender, right? Later in the 19th, 20th century, we had personality versus sex. So all of a sudden in the 19th, 20th century, researchers started noticing that there were behavioral differences between men and women. Masculinity and femininity was described statistically as tendencies, but not absolute, right? So statistically, we saw that women were behaving this way, but not all women did. And statistically, we saw men behave this way. This is where the first terms of gender started coming up. We came up with like feminine, flamboyant, tomboy, and these started entering the common language. But there's an important distinction here. These were descriptors. They were not identities, right? They described how someone behaved, not what they were. Right. So a flamboyant man was still a man. Right? And a tom girl was still a girl.
Is tomboy.
Or tomboy was still a girl, right? So at this point, we started fluctuating in the whole gender ideas, right? And it wasn't until the mid 20th century where we had a turning point. And the first person was this French woman, Simone, I don't even know how to pronounce her last name, de Beauvoir. And I'm not necessarily against what she said. She said one is not born, but one rather becomes a woman. And this is the first transition where we started having the idea of gender. And when she was stating that, what she was saying is biology matters. So she was still saying a woman is a woman and a man is a man, but the society shapes the meaning behind what that person is supposed to do. So she was saying that gender roles are learned and enforced by culture. And this was basically the first radical idea where all of a sudden now we're going, okay, and we have to look at society at this time. Now we're getting into like 1949, where all of a sudden women are having a little bit more power. We have a lot more comforts. We've got the washing machine. They don't have to be home all day. They don't have to be cultivating the garden. They don't have to be hanging the clothes and hand washing things. Now women actually have some freedom, and this is kind of where feminism comes in. So all of a sudden, a woman has the freedom to start stepping out of the natural roles, and because a lot of the natural roles are being replaced by technology. And now all of a sudden, everybody's starting to get confused.
Well,
and it was
not necessarily replaced, but more so, I would say supplemental in terms of I don't have to sit and like plunge the wash, right, to clean my clothes, but I still have to put them in the washer. I have to run the washer. I have to run the dryer. I have to put them away. And that is still time consuming and a bitch and a half, right? Like we do recognize it is still a pain in the butt. Like if they came out of the dryer folded and magically made their way to the closet, then you could say replaced all the way.
Well, we're almost there, right? We've got the robots. I was just watching a video on the folding robots because my wife does the laundry, but she's like, I do the laundry, you fold it. And we have so many kids and laundry is freaking crazy. I'm like, I don't want to fold clothes anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, just the washing machine alone, I mean, to your point, you're like, oh, it's still a pain in the butt. Before the washing machine, it took the average woman or man, if he was doing the laundry, just to keep it safe through all of history, an average of half the day to do laundry. And that probably didn't even count like folding, right? That's hand scrubbing. All of a sudden, they can throw it in the washer. That 4 hours that they used to spend is now gone. So the other time they're doing everything else, what you're saying is a pain in the butt, that was 4 hours back to women's lives, right? So yeah, it's still a pain in our modern life. Back then, it was so much more of a pain. It even comes down, same thing from the microwave, the gas oven that you just flick a switch and the gas turns on. You know, not having to get the wood and bring like the wood that your husband chopped, bring it in, put it in the stove, you know, fire everything up, heating up the kettles to cook a stew. I mean, everything started becoming more convenient. Women had a lot more time all of a sudden, right? So all of a sudden the responsibilities were not as big. And this is, I mean, it coincides exactly with this turning point where all of a sudden the next guy, John Money, who I do not like, this is not a nice guy in my opinion, but he is really the one that started changing the view on what gender actually is, right? And he actually was saying a child's sense of being male or female is primarily socially constructed. So his whole idea here, and this was in the 50s, and this is right after Simone, right? He was basically saying a man's not a man because he was born a man. A man is a man because we trained him to be a man. A woman's not a woman because she's a woman. It's because we trained her to be a woman. So he is the first one that started like building this idea that all of a sudden we can start changing the construct conveniently at the same time when all of a sudden, and by the way, when I said life got easier for women, I also want to say life got easier for men. Men used to have to really work to get to work. Then they had a car; they could drive to work.
Right.
So,
well, even if you look at like a power tool, you know, or a leaf blower or a lawnmower,
absolutely.
I think with technology, everybody's jobs got mildly easier.
Yeah, I realized I was just thinking back to that when I was like, women's jobs just got easier and then therefore everything went wrong. No, everybody's jobs got easier in the 50s, right? We had the power tools, the nail gun, cars that we could afford. All of a sudden there was all these opportunities where that afforded all human beings, men and women, a lot more time. And because of that time, all of a sudden now our roles do not become as important, right? Before all this technology existed, our roles were much more important. A man was strong, he could lift, he could do these things. The woman was producing the family, she, you know, washing the clothes. Now we both have the man and the female, both sexes. Lives have become tremendously more easy.
Well, sorry. Even at that, it allows the roles to be interchangeable as far as homely duties, right? I could go push a lawnmower because it has the wheels have the power behind them to go. I could go run a power drill and hang a frame. I could go, you know, do some sheetrock because that's kind of easy. But I mean, you could do laundry because you could put the laundry in the washer, push the button, and still leave for work, come home, throw it in the dryer, and while you're making your own dinner, if you're like a single dude making your own dinner, your laundry's drying, and after you have dinner and you go to the gym and then you come home and then you put your clothes away and laundry's done, right? All you had to do is push a couple buttons and fold some clothes. So we've made it to where it's more interchangeable now by way of convenience and in advanced technology to make it easier and quicker, or the ability for all user friendly.
Absolutely, right? I mean, it's great, right? Now both man and woman have more time. And now all of a sudden our roles are not as important as they were, and we can start swapping, just like you said, a little bit. But this is kind of where we start getting into the nature versus nurture aspect of things, where just because technology came along and kind of equalized some of these stresses in both the male and female roles doesn't mean that all of a sudden we're interchangeable. So technology came along, and then we've got John Money coming along. We have Simone, and we've got these people coming along during this convenience of time going, well, okay, technology has afforded now us to start changing our roles. And I'm not against women that want to do male roles. I'm not against men that want to nurture and take care of kids. I'm not against men that want to be nurses, not against women that want to be doctors. But statistically, when we start looking at the nature versus nurture, we'll see that's actually not the average. They're the outliers, right? So, I mean, ultimately, just kind of finish up the gender part. After John, in the late 20th century, this is where gender expression, and this happened between 1970 and 1990, really started kind of taking a whole new breath of expression in genders. And this is where the feminism came in, where essentially like the LGBTQ movements challenged the norms of sexuality and expression. Masculinity and femininity started becoming clusters of traits, but not rules. So now we're saying, okay, just because I'm like this, it's not or just because I'm this sex, it's not a rule. Even if it is the way I am, I'm not going to abide by the rule of what I am, right? And then very recently, now the 21st century, the identity has actually replaced the category. So at one time there was an identity, and now it became a category. We went from internal identity to external reality, where the internal identity actually is the greater of the external reality. So the external reality is I'm a male, but the greater value is the internal identity. It's a deep sense of feeling of yourself, and it rather than body and reproductive roles and observational traits, it's shifted to I am what I feel like I am, right? And this is important because this is going to come into, because we're still just talking about gender. This comes in really important when it comes to nature versus nurture, right? And these categories started becoming self-referential. You're no longer a male or a female. Gender now describes how you feel your reality is, right? And I think the big reason that most of us disagree, if we actually look at these different attributes of the different eras, different people on the internet and in the world, we're all looking at it from a different era, right? So the postmodern era was the sex is biologically reality, and gender is the same thing. Mid 20th century, sex is biology, gender is the social role. Late 20th century, sex is the biology, gender is an expression. Today, sex is optional and gender is an internal identity, right? So in some ways, we're arguing different eras of gender. And personally, kind of the way I feel is like I stopped at postmodern, and maybe I'm a caveman. Maybe I'm just this horrible caveman, wanting to hit a woman over the head with a stick, drag her home, and put her in the kitchen. Yeah, exactly, right? But it just seems natural, and it seems like nature to me that the postmodern The biological sex is reality, and gender is the same thing. But you know what? I'm a modern day man. I'm willing to stretch my view all the way up to the late 20th century and say, you know what? Okay, I'm cool. I'll let sex be biology, and I'll let gender be expression. But I'm not willing to accept the latest 21st century that sex is optional and gender is a identity, right? So that's where I draw the line. So when I argue, I'm arguing from one caveman, the last caveman issue back, not the first one, but from my last one back, right? I think it's that simple. And it just amazes me that I know I've seen my chats. Some people are like, I'm a homophobic, horrible, evil, trans, gay, trashing man.
Don't worry, I get called a racist and fascist all the time too. It's great.
Yeah, I hope Duck jumps up on here because he's the number one trasher of me. And I love Duck, by the way. Never trashed him, but I hope he jumps up because this is his number one complaint about me is that I'm like transphobic and anti-gay. But like I said, I think at the end of once I land this plane, I don't think there's going to be much complaints here. So what I want to do, I mean, if you don't have any questions on that, I want to go into the nurture versus nature.
Well, and I do want to chime in one quick thought to that because you brought up the idea of being a tomboy or flamboyant or things like that, and I think that was the good old days, right? I'll even say it that way. The good old days where, I mean, I was a tomboy growing up. I was very well aware of that. I didn't get girly until high school when I realized, oh wait, boys are like cooler than just to play sports with or beat the shit out of, right? Like. I was way different on that concept until I discovered, I don't know, hormones or something made me go the other way, right, in that aspect. But nobody would have said that I was a boy. Nobody would have said that I was trying to be a boy. Nobody would have said like, hey, since you feel this way or you act this way or you do these sports, like you do things that boys do, we should change everything about you so that your body matches what your activities are, right? Now, I still did ballet, though, and I still did girly things. I just didn't act like a girl, right? I was just straight tomboy. But nobody was trying to say we should make you, all of these other things about you match these activities that you're interested in playing or these your behaviors or how we would describe you to your friends, right? Nobody's trying to change everything about that. And I think that's where we got it all wrong. I think that's where the shift was because people wanted to make the activities that we're interested in only acceptable to whether you were a boy or a girl. And if you did not match that activity, like if I'm doing boy things and I am not a boy, if you don't match that activity, then we're going to change your body to match those things that you like. That's where they got it all wrong. And that's actually the most sexist thing you could do ever. It is the most feminism pushing thing you could do ever, because now you're actually saying you can't be a girl that just likes playing boy sports or wearing jeans and a t-shirt or wearing a baseball cap, or you can't be a girl that likes that. And then they're saying you can't be a guy that likes to, I don't know, put lip gloss on or something, like, I don't know. We're going in all sorts of different directions, or doesn't, you're a guy who likes to cut hair and play with hair or paint your nails or something. And now we're saying you have to identify your body to match the activities you enjoy now. You can't just be a person who likes to engage in these activities. Anyways, that's my soapbox for that one. I'll let you move forward from there.
Hey, no, right here. High five.
I don't know which side I'm going to present on, so I'll just do it on both ends.
Yeah, you're not my adversary on this. You got to work a little harder. I 100% agree. I mean, you're nailing it. And this is kind of like, I make these points by making quick like you did, and people get so upset. And that's why I put so much time and like effort into like understanding all these pieces, is to realize that it's really, It's not a bigoted idea. It's not a horrible idea. And there are many factors. Matter of fact, half of the debates we do, I don't even care what debate it is that we do on these channels. I always feel like there's a bigger picture that contributes so much that we're not talking about that actually have a piece in this, right? And and this is kind of where it starts breaking down. So we talked about sex, we talked about gender, we talked about how we moved from like this idea that it just all was the same to slightly getting different to now sex isn't actually even real and gender is any option you want, right? But if we go to nature, right? Let's look at the nature of what a man and a woman is. So we've got averages of men and women. The global averages of height, right? Men are typically, and it does depend on country, but in each country, this is pretty typical, usually 5 to 6 inches taller than women. This doesn't make women less, just means they're just averagely 5 or 6 inches taller. And I think a lot of people get really upset as soon as you start saying, well, women are smaller, then they're like, you're saying women are not equal. Well, you know what? Sometimes smaller people are better at things than bigger people. We're not saying we're not equal. We're just stating a fact.
Cupboards. I can fit in cupboards, and
exactly.
You know, I could be the one that ducks and crawls through the thing to get whatever thing is missing. Or like you drop something, and they're like, oh, there's this tiny little thing you got to duck under. I'm like, I'm on my way. You know, yeah, we're some little people. We're good at stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with us being different. There's nothing wrong with a man being averagely bigger than a woman. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do feel like a lot of times in our modern day society, like my next topic was going to be muscle mass and strength, right? On average, men's upper body is 40% to 50% larger. On the bottom, we're 25 to 30% larger. This is not a dig on women. This is not telling women that they're less. This is just saying this is how we're born and this is how men are different than women. It's okay to be different. Embrace being different. Don't take it as a knockdown, right?
Well, I mean, do women really want to be that much bigger? I wouldn't want to.
I don't want my women that size, right? I like the size of women. I enjoy the size of women.
Right.
I mean, you ever heard the term, I know I'm a good Christian boy, but you ever heard the term spinner?
Oh, yes. She's a spinner.
Right. So we don't, it works. Everything, it's like nature does its thing and it works, right? And we are now using our brains to go against nature as much as we can. We're trying to out logic our own nature, right? And it's just crazy. And I mean, the things I'm pointing out here, like muscle strength and body size, we've got the hormones, right? Testosterone. This is something big, and this is how this like changes the brain. Men's testosterone is between 300 and 1,000 nanograms, where women's testosterone is between 15 and 70. So the top woman doesn't even reach the minimum of a male, right? And this testosterone is what makes us a little bit more aggressive. It makes us more violent. It is part of our biology. And even in the lowest scale of men, our testosterone is so much higher. And this isn't necessarily a good thing, but it is a good thing. It is what allowed us to prevail over like the species that can kill us, because it allowed us to be more aggressive, think and figure out how to protect our families and our wives and our food and all these things. Once again, it fits in nature. Now in our modern day science, like I'm not running from tigers anymore. I'm not out there like fighting. I mean, some men are, thank goodness to our military men out there, and hats off to you guys. Some of us are using that testosterone in real life. Most men today are not using that testosterone for anything else but freaking paying a mortgage, right? Like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And at what point are, I think it's that's why it's very important that men do work out or have some kind of physical activity on an almost daily basis, because you do need to continue building that, and you need some type of competition men have to do this. Women, we can get away with not doing it, but you need to keep geared up and keep that adrenaline kind of boosting those that testosterone around.
But I'd argue, I think the women should still be going to the gym too. You'll find a better mate that way.
We don't need adrenaline boosts. They're bad for us. They're good for you, bad for us, I think. So yeah.
And then, so one of the other things that comes into nature is the IQ. And this is actually good news for the women. The average IQ between men and women is actually equal. So the average IQ works out perfect for men and women. So there is not an average smarter woman or average smarter man. However, the average, all these statistics I'm talking about, by the way, are bell curves. They're all bell curves. And on that bell curve, men and women equal the same average IQ. However, there are no women that go outside the bell curve of men. Men are much, much smarter, and they're very rare. They're very few. And the bell curve looks the same way. They're much dumber. So, like, on both sides of the spectrum, you have men that are much smarter than women, and you have men that are much dumber than the dumbest women. So, like,
wow. So we're still technically smarter. If all the men are dumber, or like there's still a bulk of them that are dumber than us, then that technically makes women still smarter. We may not.
Well, no, because there's no woman that's smarter on the bell curve than a man.
But there are men that.
But there is no woman dumber on the bell curve.
Yeah,
than a man.
So we're
right?
still ahead of the game there.
No, not really. If you
the weakest link, you're only as good as your weakest link. Vibe. We are not the weakest link here. You got a lot of weak links. You gotta get right up if you want to stay ahead.
Yeah, well, thank God when we go on that bell curve to the smartest guys, they're the ones that actually gave us electricity, figured out the wheel, learned how to make a stair, provided us with electric cars, sent us to the moon. And there are women in that category, many, much fewer. But it wasn't a woman that gave us the washing machine. It's like the smartest men also make up for the dumbest men. So yes, on the scale from smart to stupid, the men are the smartest and the men are the dumbest. And when it comes to our average, we're actually equal, right? And so this is actually good news. So, I mean, we can look at it any way you want. I'm not going to trash women's intelligence here, because we end up winning on the both scales. But
I feel like we've gone into a lot of the lefty talking points on how they are getting it wrong. But Dragon Fist asked a good question in the chat. He wants to hear how the right is getting it wrong. Now, you did kind of bring up the idea of Matt Walsh and asking, like, what is a woman? But where is it that the right is really offbeat in terms of these sex versus gender, or so on and so forth?
Okay, so I'll skip ahead. Like I said, I'm so happy for this platform to have a long plane to land. I have 6 points, and that was point 3, right? So I'll start trying to rush through a little bit more, and we'll kind of skip to nurture, right? And this is where the left or the right is getting it wrong. If we dive into this, anybody has parents, we already know that everybody tells us that teaching our kids between ages 0 and 7 are the most critical points of education for those kids. This is a point where the neurons are making paths in the brain, and actually somebody is born with a nature where they'll be more likely to be successful at one thing or another. However, if we don't actually encourage the building of those neural paths, they won't be successful at that. If we do encourage building those neural paths, they'll be extremely successful at that. And some kids, even if we go against, if we go against their nature and try to build their neural paths, they'll have a genetic tendency to fight that and still build their own paths. But the majority of us will build the paths based on how we are taught, right? And I went through the brain development, right? As soon as a baby is born, we've got like 68 billion neurons that already exist. By age 2, the brain reaches 80 to 90% of its adult age volume. So basically its capacity for learning. And it is actually, where is the number here? This is amazing. I don't want to get the number wrong because it's an amazing number. They are building 97 million neural paths per minute between age 0 and 7, right? And so we're basically creating these freeways of how they're going to think, right? Now, I'm going to go a little off topic here. There was a study done, and so this sounds racist, right? Chinese people are better at playing instruments than anybody else in the world. It sounds like a racist statement at first, and somebody actually did a study on this. Are Chinese people genetically better at music than everybody else in the world? Well, the study suggests, and by the way, the study suggests, it has been peer reviewed, but it has not been confirmed. But the study suggests in this study, and it was a 4-year study, that the Chinese language, like one word in the English language would be M-A, ma. They have many annotations of the letter A. So it can be ma, 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 or ma. And all three of those things mean 4 different things, right? One's mother, one's horse, one's like marijuana. Seriously, if you mispronounce the vowel notation of that, you're saying the wrong word. So as a child learning Chinese, what the study showed is it built the just knowing the language of Mandarin, right? Just knowing the language of Mandarin and how important the tonality of it is, built all these narrow paths that give Chinese people that ability to recognize notes, know notes, and understand the finality of those notes much better. So it suggests that Chinese are better at music and recognizing notes, not because they're Chinese, but because they learned a language at a young age that basically promotes the neural paths of understanding this information, right? They're building these neural paths. This is actually really important when it comes to the discussion that we're going into, where is the left and the right wrong, is that we have to understand that our children are almost brainwashed in a sense, right? We've seen this with the Spartans back in the day, right? They took 6-year-olds and they started making them beat up each other so they could be warriors. Some of these children probably were very mentally damaged, because I don't think that's a good way to raise a child, and I don't think anybody thinks that's a good way to raise a child. But there is a borderline where, like, taking a kid hunting might be not making him a Spartan, but like understanding how to be a man. But we can program kids. We can program kids with if they grew up in a racist family. We're going to build neurons in their brains that are going to make them distrust other races. We can do all these different things that are good and they're bad. And we have to choose which ones are good and which ones are bad. And this really comes down to, and I'm actually already gone off my notes here, but it actually is critical to it, right? Because I was going to go into the nurture. We do have this pruning in that those years between 0 and 7, where even if you're gifted with that, if it's not built on, the brain will just erase it, because it looks at it as, I'm not using these paths, I'm done with these paths, I'm deleting these paths. If you have that nature, it's going to build on them, it's going to build on them, it's going to build on them. Even if it's outside of your nature, you're still going to be building these paths. So, like, this is still kind of part of nature, but we're now in the nurture factor of how we are shaping our children.
That's when it starts interfering, like actually interfering with how it goes forward. Right. Okay.
So since I went off script here, I'm kind of coming back to my script here, so I don't miss anything here. Yeah. So I mean, it's brain wiring, right? Now, our nature will give us the ability for our brains to be wired one way or another better or quicker. But even if our brain is not wired to do it quickly, if we keep on pushing it, our brain will get wired that way. So I might be naturally born with a music talent. And if I was born Chinese, my brain wiring is going to quickly pick that up.
Mhm.
If I wasn't born with music talent and somebody just keeps on doing it, it's going to take longer for my brain to do it, but it's still going to wire direction. Wire direction. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, did we lose you? Hold on, we got a low signal coming in. Turn your camera off for a second. It might give it a chance to.
Okay,
oh,
are
there
we
you
back?
are. Yep, you're back. Go ahead.
Yeah, I saw the freeze there. I was like, no. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So, uh-oh.
You're here. Little slight mild lag, but if you get it, just let it just keep going, and it should you should be fine. Try turning your camera off, Vybe. All right, we'll give him a second. In the meantime, while he's look, he looks so nice and handsome, just frozen like that. I'll do a frozen look too. All right. In the meantime, Tootie Bug sending in the Big 10 to say, kicking off the dono goal. Thank you so kindly, Tootie. We love you for it. And don't forget, I'm going to drop the link here just shortly. Just a few minutes. I'm going to drop the link. So if you do have something to add in for open panel, don't worry. We're going to be bringing you up here momentarily. Ross Khan with the big 25. Big 25. Wow, that's very generous. Thank you. Says just a quick hello, the Raging Tomato, 10th Man, Tootie Bug, and all you beautiful people in the chat. Yes, this means you too. Have a pleasant evening, everyone. And then Ross wasn't done yet. Ross says, excuse me, Mr. Vybe, can you pause, please? Raging Tomato, can I get a shout out, please? I just love to hear the sound of my own name. Okay, Ross Khan 4815. There you go, my darling. All right, here's what I'm gonna do while Vybe is figuring himself out. I'm gonna go ahead and send out the link for the panel just in case we lose him for longer. I still want the flexibility. Stand by, Bug. I'll get you just a second. Hold on. In case we lose him for a little bit, I don't want to stop the conversation, and I like to keep pushing it. Hold on. I just lost my whole thought. Join here. All right. And I see Brenda. Brenda's in the chat. I'd be interested. I know you're going to disagree with it. 10th Man, I want to see kind of where you stand on the gender v sex thing. Ant, I know you've probably got a strong take on that. Let's see who else we got back there. I saw Steve in the chat. I know he has some interesting thoughts to it. I saw him in the chat saying something. Dragon Fist, probably going to have some wonderful lefties. Yep, they're already hopping backstage, are the lefties. So go ahead and start going ahead and hitting the link now. Hop backstage. We'll open it up here in just a couple minutes. All right, and give me just 1 second, Vybe. Let me tend to my son. But if you want to start saying something, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, if we're opening up the panel, I need to get to the crux here on why the left and the right is wrong. Sorry there, I had to reboot, so I'm pulling up all my notes again here. But while the notes are pulling up, the whole idea here of going between what sex is, the evolution of what gender is, The idea between nature and nurture are really important to this fact. What we actually see happening through society is that there is a disconnect. Let's see, how do we say this? We had a point where a woman that felt like she wanted to climb trees could climb trees, and she could still be a woman. And we got to this point where all of a sudden, oh, wait, where did that go? Sorry, 1 second here.
Yeah, no problem.
So, okay, this is where ultimately I'm trying to end on this. Is we talked about the spectrum. There is a spectrum for men and women, and a lot of those spectrums, whether it's height or intelligence or anything, overlap. There are men that are more compassionate. There are men that are more aggressive. There are men that are taller. There are men that are shorter. And the overlap between men and women is like 80%. So there actually is a commonality behind that. But what is happening in today's society, and actually not even today's society, even all the way back to the 50s, when I was talking about before these people started like doing the gender thing, when we saw a boy that wanted to play with a doll, we took that doll out of his hand and we said, no, you play with fire trucks. Now, what does this do to the wiring of that brain? That tells that child that, oh, because I'm a boy, I'm not allowed to do what I want to do. And the grandparents and the parents are like, yeah, that kid's a little light in the loafers. They all start programming his brain. They all start programming his neurons. They all start directing him, saying that because you don't fit in the average male role, you're not allowed to be a male anymore. You'll hear most transsexuals and gays actually say they knew they were gay and they knew they were transsexual before they ever hit puberty. Now, I would ask, like, why could that be? Could it be because as soon as they did something that was in their character and in their personality but didn't fit the standard of the sex, that all of a sudden their brain is going, the only way I can be me is by changing my identity or changing my preference, because society does not accept me for who I am. I have to change my sex to be who I am.
Right. So the pressure switched the other way. Instead of the pressure of taking the doll away from the boy and saying boys don't play with dolls, right? Instead of doing that, we said, hey, if you want to play with dolls, you need to become a girl.
Exactly. But we don't do that. We don't do that. But that's what the kid sees, right? So the doll is taken away from the kid and given to his sister. And now there are narrow paths being built in his brain saying, but I want to play with the doll, but I'm not allowed to play with the doll because I'm a boy. Now we're building synaptic paths in his brain saying, because I identify as a man, I am no longer allowed to do what my nature wanted me to do. So our nurture is now programming our kids saying, if you do not behave in this specific way, you are no longer allowed to be your sex. And even worse, now, and my daughter, she's in 4th grade. She came to me, she goes, Dad, can a 4th grader be gay? I'm like, no, a 4th grader can't be gay. She says, well, there is one 4th grader that's telling me he's gay. And I'm like, well, that's because that's where we live today, right? And maybe he is. Maybe he'll grow up and be gay. I don't know. I personally don't think a 4th grader can be gay unless he's being taught that, and we're building those narrow paths. Maybe he's the boy who wants to play with dolls. I would love to see men that have a feminine side still be men and not be forced to switch sides just to have their personality. I'd rather them still be men and just be guys that like to make dolls, right? Like Pinocchio was built by a man. Like men can like dolls and still be men.
I mean, there's G.I. Joes too. But I think in 10th Man has kind of made this argument before because he is a gay man and he has a very big bone to pick with the transgender community, because he's basically saying, like, if you're gay, be gay, but you don't have to, like, all of this other stuff. You're tapping into our arena and pulling from it what you want, and to like step on this other big soapbox to push all this other stuff, and it just kind of ruins everything for everyone. But yeah, if you're a man and you're gay, why would you feel the need to flip to be a woman in order to be? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's confusing, even more so.
Imagine how confusing that would be to children.
Yeah, I don't
If you can't understand it as an adult, and this is the agenda that we're now pushing on our children, how are they going to interpret this? Especially now that we have parents going, yeah, Tony, you can be Tonyetta if you want. Like, this is just craziness. And we already know 0 to 7. We can pretty much wire those brains to be whatever they want. Now they have a nature. Do we want to use our nurture to go against their nature? So where the right gets it wrong, and this is a slippery slope, because I think of myself as a man and a manly man. I support my family. My boy is a boy. My girl is a girl. I watched the Matt Walsh video on What is a Woman, and it starts off with his daughter playing with a doll and his son like running across the room with a spaceship. That's what every like straight man and straight woman picture their kids as being, right? But I kind of feel like Matt Walsh, in a sense, even in his opening, was part of the problem, because I would have loved to seen his son playing with a doll and his daughter running across with a spaceship and still being a woman and a man, right? Like it's the whole idea that we're forcing society, like people that are on the spectrum of our hormones and our height and our whatever, any of those pieces, that we say, just because you don't fit in that, you're light in the loafers. And we all start training them, and we all of public, the grandparents especially, they're like, yeah, that boy's a little light in the loafers. That kid hears that. That kid feels that. That kid knows that. He starts getting wired that way. And I mean, and like you're talking about what he was saying, he's like anti-trans. I don't think this just articulates just to trans and men and women. There are many studies that show that children that were boys that were molested as a young age tend up being gay more, right? This is a nurture thing. Obviously being molested is not.
Well, they're emasculated. They're emasculated as young boys. Why would they?
It changes their brain. They weren't necessarily born to be that, but because of their circumstances and the nurture, even though it was bad nurture, changed their outcome of their sexual preference. We see this in women too, not as much as we do in men, but these are all facts, studies, things that show that basically the way we think and the way we treat our kids are very important. And I really do believe in bringing up my boy to be masculine and strong. But at the same time, I think if he shows an affinity to something that's a little bit feminine, I can still allow him to do that, and I can still take him hunting, right? Like you don't have to just go, no, you're not allowed to do that. And if my parents are passed, but if they weren't passed and they were like, your boy's a little light in the loafers, I'd be like, shut up, stop it, because that's the right thinking. Now on the left side, they've screwed it up even worse. So they said, yes, right, you screwed up, but they don't even acknowledge how we screwed it up. They're going, we're just going to change all the rules and make everything okay. Let's just keep on screwing up the kids even more. Let's just keep on fucking with our kids. Let's tell them they can be anything they want. They can be the freaking moon if they want to be a moon. Right? And so what I'm saying is the right has to be a little bit more accepted that not all men fit in the category of hunters and gatherers, but they can still be men. The left, shut up and don't change the definitions just because the right fucked it up. Right? Like it's like we kind of made the mistake on our side by forcing this too much. Although I do believe it's kind of a slippery slope. We still need to make sure everybody fits in their roles, but allow them to be who they are. But the left is just making it even worse by trying to compensate for how they feel. So when I say the left and the right is doing it wrong, this is where I think they're doing it wrong. I think it's a big mistake. I think it's very fixable. But I don't think it's fixable at all. I think we're just too entrenched in our ideas and our idea, like our philosophies of, what we're supposed to be. but it really comes down to the children and paying attention to who those children are, paying attention to what their traits are. I'd personally like to see gender erased from everything. We just have sex. And if you need to be unique, then you are unique. Use your name and say, I don't need to put myself in a box. There's no box required. I don't need to be in any of the letter alphabets. I can just be me. I can be a man and I can be me, even if me as a man dresses as a woman. Like,
right.
And that's it.
I actually enjoyed that more. Like we just knew and understood that. Let's go, Effigy. Get your butt up here. I know you're waiting. All right. Well, let's maneuver over. I did do a couple other super chats while you were out. Hockey Chip sends the big five, says Sarah, Dragon Fist. Let's go. Yes, Dragon Fist is backstage waiting patiently. Pardon. And Tootie Bug sending out one gifted Raging Tomato membership. Thank you so kindly to give the gift that keeps on giving. We love the Mater Nation all around. If you're watching over on the X side, the show will continue here over at the Raging Tomato on YouTube. Otherwise, I'm cutting you off. You got to move over here to continue forward. All right. If everyone backstage is ready to come play, we are going to come play. So, wait, what am I doing here? What did I do? Did I mess something up? No, I didn't. We're good. Okay. I think we're good. All right. Are you ready to meet your panel vibe?
I am. Let's bring it.
Here we go. Good evening to everyone joining us. Let's see, word vibe. There you go. Vibes over there. Balderson there. Effigy there. Okay, perfect. And of course, we've got Brenda Debates making her way back to the panel. Welcome back, Brenda. Effigy, of course, got the personal call out. Mr. Benjamin Balderson. I'm pretty sure do you take a night off from my panels? I'm kind of excited that you are officially a regular. I'm calling you my new co-host now, Mr. Ben Balderson, of course. And then Andrew from Dragon Fist, ready, locked, and loaded to go. He hails in from the right, on the Christian right-wing side. So Vibe, he may help you out here. No guarantees. God's favorite aunt is probably somewhere stuck in the common sense factor, not necessarily right or left. And then, of course, 10th, our resident gay on panel, who's ready to eat both sides.
Yeah, you're going to have to let me know when to talk because I just want to come up here and start screaming right now.
Well,
Vibe, you had me. You had me. Just let me know.
You were actually first in line, and being the fact that you were the first one to click that link and get your butt up here, I will open it to you first, sir.
Well, if you don't mind, 10th, I'm so happy that 10th's here. I figured he'd jump up, so very happy to converse with you. We always have good discussions. Balderson, I always love. Animated FG, we've been here since the beginning, so obviously always love you too. God's favorite aunt, one of my favorite newcomers to everything. So really happy to talk with all you guys. Sorry, 10th, it's all yours.
You had me pretty much 100%. Until the end, and then you had to go into the kid stuff. So I'm going to have to ask you some questions about that, and if you want to stop, we'll stop and we'll just go to somebody else. But so your statistics, did you have some statistics to go along with that about being molested makes you gay?
Oh, you're talking about the
yeah, you made a statement. You said it's more likely for you to be gay if you were molested. Do you have any stats to go with that?
Yes, I do. Actually,
Okay,
I have
so
everything I talked to.
I want to ask
I actually
very
put stats on.
specific questions. So, statistics align with whether or not you're molested by a man or a woman.
No, so yeah, it does. Men molested by men have a higher output, and it's a couple percent. It's not like 50%, but there is a higher average based on the studies from that. Yes, and even bigger than that is, and I can send you the studies 10th
because I don't believe that's true.
Is any inadequacy in the home lead to higher outcomes of
so is it less likely for a man to be gay if he was molested by a woman then?
Yeah, the studies that I read, that is correct. But by the way, I'll concede on this because I really don't want to argue on this one too much, in the sense that I also think that psychology, it's feels, right? I mean, the numbers are real. We write down the numbers of how people feel, and we collate those numbers and we put them into statistics.
Because that's my only problem with it. So,
but psychology is psychology, and whether like it's accurate or not, you know, is kind of a wiki science, right?
But to me, it seems like the overlying issue, though, is that typically Christians are always coming at it from the perspective that homosexuality is born out of some moral failing of some kind, rather than accepting that it's a natural thing in the world.
That's true.
Okay, so I didn't come at this at all, and once in my conversation that from a Christian background.
Well, no, sure. I'm just saying that that's typically where these kind of arguments come from, because I feel that this is that kind of argument that if you have something morally wrong done to you, or you were saying that stuff in the home like can just cause you to be gay, and that just sounds so wild to me. Like I know
I didn't hear him make a moral argument. He didn't make
a lot of people. I know very few people who just, you know, had random things. Most of them just knew it. They just had a moment where they realized it, because, you know, we're transitioning from kids to adults and stuff.
I did have one issue with that idea, though, Vybe. The question I have to ask is, if that was true, if it's being taught to these kids through these acts, then who was the first homosexual?
No, he conceded that. He's not. He's saying the psychology of the kid stuff may not be 100%, because I don't believe it anyway. So he's that was like an anecdote at the end of his thing. That's why I had to sort that out before I really go crazy. But go ahead, guys. Sorry.
Like a couple of percent. You're talking about margin of error. Like might not even be real.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, you just did.
Yeah. No, I want Mr. Vybe. It looks like you're a musician. Do you have any kind of formal education in psychology, sociology, biology?
Yes and no. So I went to college for 6 years. I got a bachelor and a doctorate, and some of those classes actually were in psychology and philosophy and things like that. But that is not what my major was.
What was it? What is your major, if I may ask?
My original one was communications, and then later I went into computer science, and I did my master's in that.
Okay, so you have no expertise in this. Have you checked out what people who have expertise have said about gender identity issues surrounding homosexuality and transgender issues?
Yeah, I tried to be really thorough on that when I was bringing up all these points. I have like 38 different references on this, and I tried to make sure they're all.
What you just said from?
Hold on. Let me finish.
I'll get kicked out of here. That other person needs to say homosexuality or transgender issues, not and. Don't equate the two.
Kind of overlap.
Or else we're going to have a problem up here right now.
They kind of overlap. They kind of overlap as far as, for instance, drag queens.
No, they don't overlap, because those are not the same thing. Transsexual is not the same as trans. No, it's not.
Drag queens are by definition transgender.
A drag queen is they're not. They're not.
Transsexual. Transgender.
Transvestite, not a transsexual. You are incorrect. Listen, ma'am.
No, I
or
was
sir,
taught-
or whatever the heck
I was-
you are.
I-
I do
I'm
recognize
trans.
your voice. This is 10th Man.
Yeah.
And I will turn
I
my
don't know
camera
who
on.
you are.
Just so
I've
you,
known
you might want to
drag
learn.
queens.
You might want to learn because you ain't gonna come
I-
around
I
here
was-
right now while I'm here. If you want to say transgender or gay people, you can, but you're not gonna equate
Yeah,
the
that's
two while I'm up here, or we're gonna have a problem.
yeah. That's not
Right?
what Dr.
Just because you want to
Can I
genocide
reply
gay
to?
people,
Can I respond?
just because you want to genocide gay people, don't try to
It's
add
not
the
a
two in.
genocide.
Yeah, it is.
So, dude.
Oh yeah, it
Why-
is.
That's
genocide
not
is
what.
sexual
quickly.
preference.
Let's flip your camera on. Let's play this game. Flip
So
your camera
this is-
on. Because you
this
got
is
me
not-
shaking right now. Let's do it.
Calm down, 10th.
Just relax. dude.
Gauntlet. Let's rock.
So that's not.
Yes,
what-
man, did you forget to
Can I
spell it
reply?
again? Right.
Can I be allowed to reply, please?
I would like to address
I'm going to tone police you,
Brenda
just like you
debates
do
here
everybody else.
directly.
Don't do it again.
I'd like to reply that's not what Dr. Eli Coleman and Dr. Walter Bachtin
I don't care what
at
your
the
child
University of
predator
Minnesota
doctors
No.
say. No
No,
one
there's
cares
PhDs.
about your nonsense no more. You lose.
They were
I am
PhDs
here
in
now. I
PhDs
am
in
the
human
king of
sexuality.
gays, and I am the arbiter of what's gay and
No,
what's
you're
not.
not.
in human
No, you're
I
not.
don't care.
All right,
what
all right,
you
all right,
think.
all right, all right.
I'm telling
Sorry,
you
I
how
had
it
to go.
is.
I had to go get some cough syrup. I've just been coughing all day and I can't seem to shake it. So I apologize for stepping away, but I was anticipating everyone knew the rules of the game here and how I like to operate. So let's play a little one at a time and be kind to each other overall until we switch over to the gauntlet. All right, Coriolis sends a big 5, says, "Hail, co-host Ben Balderson." Yes, the official. I'm just making it official now. The official co-host of the Raging Tomato. You have Mr. Benjamin Balderson, also known as our guard dog here. Not only in the chat but on the panels, and you are very, pardon me, very much appreciated, sir, for your duties and services. Ross Kahn back again says, with the Big Ten, there is no proof, by the way, of the scientific method researched by scholarly resources that molestation leads to homosexuality. You lost all credibility with that statement. Zero credibility. Did you have stats and numbers for that one?
Yeah, I do. Let me go back here and I'll pull those up and send them in the chat.
Okay. And once you drop it in the private chat, I can drop it to the channel too. But I also remember learning that too, that it was like an increased likelihood, right? I don't know if it was a guarantee, but I remember.
No.
It works as a cause.
It's a bigoted truism.
Yeah.
Like it's just something that people who don't like gay people say. Like that's all it's ever been.
I have nothing against gay people, and I could see there's some possible validity to the idea because behavior can be influenced by your environment. If your environment is one of sexual abuse, I hope that was okay to say, then it could very well conceivably mold you towards wanting more of that and
sure abused people
That's a
can seek more
hypothesis.
abuse, but to conflate that with someone's like natural sexual preference.
But we're talking, in this case, we're just simply talking about same-sex relations, right? It doesn't necessarily.
Does anyone on the panel think
saying that means that we should
change over time? Is that what it
you
means?
saying something?
Hold on. I wanted to hear what Effigy was trying to.
I'm
trying to say.
I'm curious just to get a kind of baseline. Does everyone believe that whatever sexual preference you were born with, that is what you have? You know, as far as like who you are attracted to.
I do not think that.
I don't think
You
that.
think
I
it's
don't.
malleable?
I don't think that people
Yes.
choose their sexuality. I don't think that's a choice.
Sure,
I don't think anybody thinks that.
We
I don't
know
know.
it's malleable.
I don't know the
can I-
science behind it, but if I could put a pin on it, I would say it's more, you're more inclined nurture wise versus nature. I think some of it has to do with just the same as like men who grow up who have nothing but sisters tend to understand women in a different way or act a different, or they're like super clean guys, right?
But they aren't going to go out looking for male sex partners.
Right. You're talking about the characteristics we throw on top of that base preference.
What I'm saying is I think it's more inclined on nurture versus nature. I don't know, like, are people born gay? I don't know. Is there some type of genetic code that we found that says, okay, anyone who identifies as being gay, like their sexual preference, is there a genetic code that matches all of them?
It's not how people work. People aren't like simple programs, right? We're very complicated. So can I ask this question about about intersex? So let's say, for instance, that an 18-year-old girl comes to the doctor, says, Doctor, I'm not developing. I'm not getting my period. I'm not getting any pubic hair. What's wrong with me, doctor? Doctor does some tests, finds out that she was born with vagina, has female breasts, has been raised as a human female for 18 years, is in fact XY. She's a male.
Mm-hmm.
She has a vagina. She doesn't have a uterus. She has undescended testicles. She has breasts. Is that person a man or a woman?
Irrelevant.
Brenda, I don't know. I don't know if you watched from the very beginning.
Did not. I apologize, but
I actually started off with
we laid out that there are anomalies. We recognize that is in there. It's a built-in exception, but it's not the rule, right?
That's not how
I didn't
rules
just
work.
put it
That's
in
not
as
how
an
rules
exception,
work.
by the way. I actually included them.
It's called special pleading. Rules work by taking into account anomalies, right?
Yeah, I included them,
Right?
and I brought up the studies on that too. Yes.
When there were anomalies in Newton's law of gravitation, we decided he was wrong because he was wrong. Einstein came along and accounted for those. So today we have a way of understanding, right, that there's a difference between gender and sex. They can come apart, and
No, there's not.
people.
No, there's not.
Yeah, no, Brenda.
You say so. I just gave you an example.
Your child predator doctor theorems mean nothing.
Sarah and
We're
Vybe just
done.
had a conversation
Hold
that
on.
showed they understand there's a difference, and they didn't even get that they were having that conversation.
Vybe, go ahead, sir.
I mean, here's the thing: is
I
I knew
saw the
these
studies
arguments.
Hold on,
that
Ted.
FTD
Hold
was
on,
basing
Ted.
his-
Ted,
I knew all
use
these
your
arguments were
ears
going to come
more.
up, and I laid
Go
it
ahead.
out from step one all the way to where we're talking about. So at this point, Brenda, like if you just want to start the thing and run it at 2x, I'm willing to talk to you because you're just basically repeating things that I already addressed.
Right.
And if you watch that hour and a half with Sarah and I never disrespected anybody that's gay or anybody that's trans.
I don't think you
I
have.
just laid out the studies that are out there, and I understand that psychology it is kind of a wiki science, but it has some validity.
I'm actually impressed. Because I think you're a gender eliminativist, right? You want to eliminate gender. That is quite a strong position.
Here we go
in
with the
society
labels.
today. But that's what he said.
Will not
That's
work
what he
here.
said. He wants to. He said he wants to eliminate it. What is this
Now it's
stuff
just
that goes
me and
on?
you. Flip that camera on.
Why do we do this? Why is
Flip
this?
it on.
Are you
You
the
got a lot
10th
to
man?
say.
Do I know
I
you,
am the
10th man?
10th man. Nope.
Huh?
Nope. You do not know me. You probably
Okay.
heard of me.
I know of a 10th man, but that
Yeah,
could be just
I'm
somebody
the
who's
10th man.
adopted.
So let's skip all the pleasantries and nonsense that you're going to try to skip around with.
Is that
I assume that you are a trans person.
Is testosterone
Gonna dance around.
insensitivity?
Are you a trans person?
Yeah. Is
I want you to tell
is
me how
testosterone-
being trans is similar to being gay in any way. You tried to equate the two. Tell me
It's
why.
not similar.
Then why is it trans and gay?
Because people can be in multiple categories. It's a social category.
No.
Right? You can be
No,
a man
gay means
and a fire. You
that
can
you're
be a man.
attracted to the same sex.
You can be a man, and you can also be a fireman. So you can be
Gay
in two
means
categories.
you're attracted to the same. Flip your camera on. Gay means you're attracted to the same sex.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, there are trans men who are gay.
That's not the discussion.
Yeah, it is. It's directly to your point. There are trans men, women, human females who have transitioned to male who identify as homosexual.
Okay, so let's go down this path. So the trans man, does he still have a penis?
A trans man can have a surgery to.
Does he have a penis? No, but does the trans man?
They don't have
not
to.
Hypothetically, does the man have a penis?
What?
Does the trans man?
The social category, the cisgender trans
we're gonna
men.
keep it. We're gonna keep it at what's happening that everybody can see, not your imagination. Let's talk about does both people have a penis?
Both people. Who are you talking about? You're talking about cisgendered or transgendered?
That's hate speech, and I would like you to not call people cis. Yes, it is.
Cry harder about it. It's just a simple word.
So this what I'm talking about is a person like you came along, decided you're going to make up some type of fantasy, and then you took my identity as a gay man away because you
nobody took your identity away. Nobody took your identity away, honey.
Genocider of gays. That's what you are.
No, nobody took that away from you. You are not the victim. You are not a victim. You sound like a victimizer.
No, you would advocate for going out and talking to me when I was a child and convincing me that I might be trans. You are you are supporting the genocide of the gay people. That's what you're doing.
No, that's wrong. I would not advocate that.
Put me in a category saying I'm cis, then I get a nice little star on my lapel, right?
Trans man.
And you can load me into a train and toss me into a fire pit.
You are not
even if you're ignorant. Even if you are ignorant of what you're doing, it is still evil.
I'm sorry that you feel hurt. I'm sorry that you feel hurt.
No, it's not feeling hurt. I feel that you and your views are personally putting my life in danger.
Yeah, that's your feeling. That's not what's happening. Yes, I know.
You are telling me that I am an other.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. You came into people like you came into my community, the gay community, after we got the right to marry and file taxes with each other and just basic human activities that we do. And people like you came in with your mental illness, tried to tell me that I'm cis, and then destroyed everything that we built.
Yeah, that's
you
not
took
what happened.
Corporate agendas and corporate money, took over the LGBTQ, added numbers, letters, and symbols, tried to add pedophile into it, and then we started putting a stop to it when we saw what you people were doing. You understand that?
So you are not
if you want to say no, this all came.
You are not a victim.
Trans.
You are not a victim.
And gay. You can either say trans or gay, or we're going to continue to have this argument. You do not get to include yourself.
I do
with
get to.
My group.
Transgender is an umbrella term.
The reason why there's the gays against groomers because of people like you. You do not get to include yourself.
You're not
with
a
gays.
victim.
So
you're not a victim.
Gay or trans, or we continue to have this fight for as long as you're alive.
There's overlap. It's an umbrella term.
Nope, there's no overlap. Just like there's no overlap between a murderer or a not murderer. You understand?
Yeah.
There's no overlap. You're either a murderer or not. You either took a human life, you either support genociding gay people, or you do not. Tell me how it's not a genocide of the gay people.
Nobody's being killed.
They can't procreate after your wonderful procedures, can they?
Nobody's being killed.
Can they procreate?
There's no genocide.
Can they procreate?
Can you?
Yes.
No, you can't. Not with your,
your
partner.
That's not the discussion. Do they lose the ability to procreate after they become trans? Yes or no?
I thought this was about you and your
supporting a genocide. You
no, it's not.
Refuse to even acknowledge what I'm saying because you know it's true.
No, it's not. You are not the victim.
Sterilizing children, people who support this, maybe not you, but people who support this are killing children.
No, they're not. That is a lie.
Sterilizing children.
That is a lie.
It is a genocide of gays, and you refuse
to
even acknowledge what I'm telling you.
Transgendered children are not gay.
Can they procreate after they've been trans? Yes or no?
Trans people are not gay.
Is this the exact same thing that they used to do to people with Down syndrome?
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
So you can cry
Liar.
victimhood, but you're not a victim.
Victimhood, you're a lying piece of trash.
To be honest,
and people like you need to be put in mental institutions. Bring institutions back.
Yeah.
Enough.
I don't think that your rhetoric is very helpful.
You backed down because you knew what I was saying was true.
I
That's
haven't
why
backed
you
down.
ran, and now I won again.
Ran?
You people are
I haven't
not
done
going to
anything.
take my identity from me. You are not going to genocide my people. No.
All right. Shout out to Zippy
What are
sending
you
in the
talking
big
about,
five.
Dan? You never even
Drop-
explained your position, not once. You went from fucking zero to Holocaust in like no time.
Can people
I
who've
have to
been
go with effigy
trans
on this one.
procreate? Can they have children after they've transed?
What is a gay man using procreation
That
as the crux
is
of his
what
argument?
genocide
what the fuck is that all about?
That you don't understand it doesn't mean it's not true. I can explain it to you. I can't understand it for you.
Why
It may
don't you
take
get
a
that
few
sexual
years, the
preference
same
has
as it
nothing to
did
do
me.
with whether or not someone
My
feels they're in the
best
wrong
person
body?
when I got married was fucking trans. I've been sexual partners with trans people. I was pro-trans until I realized what this was.
Maybe you're just
Cool, I'm
angry
not trying
because
to
you
use
never
cred
transitioned.
How
as
many
the
trans people do you know?
basis.
Have you slept with trans people? Have you slept with people who became trans after you slept with them? No, I have. I know what this is because I saw it in real time.
Maybe you're just sour
During and
grapes
after.
here.
Have you?
Now
Have
we're
you?
just
Them
Are you
grapes-
going to
them
help
grapes
people that
is very sour.
detransition? Because I have. Do you help people that try to detransition?
Tenth
No,
man.
they abandon people like this. Abandon them. Everybody abandons them, and then I'm the one who has to listen to them cry. But you people don't care. You don't care that you're hurting children.
10th man.
You don't care. Listen, I'm about to go crazy. I'm going to be quiet now.
10th man, you're really kind of taking over and being very rude. This is for the other host, not you. It's not about you.
It's for the other host, not. Start talking like a robot because you're scared.
This is not about you. This show is not about you. It's about the other guy.
Oh no, it is about
Right.
me.
And you've made it
Every
all
show's
about you.
about me.
And
I'm the
all
king of
about
motherfucking
your
YouTube,
feelings.
bitch.
Can we just understand on a conceptual level how the idea of sexual preference is different from the idea of whether or not you feel like you're in the correct body or not?
Yes, it's obviously different.
Right.
All right.
Also, how being trans does not imply what your sexual preference is. You could have someone who has the exact same sexual preference as when they were, a normal acting as a cis dude, right? Like, this isn't hard to figure out. Everyone just the brain breaks because they just don't like it.
Well,
And besides
Or
that,
there's
don't
some
say I tried
trauma
to
in the
monopolize
background.
shit. I was put up 1 versus 1 because someone
10th
paid.
man.
Don't even
This is
try.
not about
with your
you, 10th
narrative
man.
writing nonsense, fucking liar. Don't put shit out into the ether as if it's true. Don't expect me to sit here and listen to your lies. I didn't take over shit.
It's
Now
emotional
I
as
fucking will.
fuck.
All right.
Don't
If
play your
you
fucking mind
don't
games.
mind, allow me to reset the panel.
Thank you.
All right, everybody's resetting. Zippy sends in the big 5, says, looking forward to hear what Dragon Fist has to say. And yes, I'm going to actually hand the floor over to him. Hockey Chib with the big 2 says, Dragon Fist, pepper's getting hot. All right, heat it up, Dragon Fist.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First of all, I don't know what that argument was really about, because you can say this and that, and it doesn't mean that those two things are the same. Like, you could say, I want to talk about apples and oranges. Like, I don't have to say apples or oranges. So, like, the whole argument to me was like about semantics. I'm not really sure. I'm not going to touch on that. I just want to ask Vybe some questions, because you had said that the right got it wrong and that it's the right's fault. And then you kind of went into a little bit of a thing about Matt Walsh, and I saw that movie. Just because I don't want you to straw man him as he's not here. I'll defend him for him, as I do like Matt Walsh, and I listen to him often. And I saw the movie. He's not saying that kids can't play, like that a boy can't play with a doll and that a girl can't play with the spaceship. He's saying that his kids don't, which is also okay. Like, that doesn't mean that the whole position of the right is that boys have to play with trucks and G.I. Joes and girls have to play with Barbies. That's not the position. That's a straw man of the right's position. So I want to just ask how the right is getting it wrong, because everything you said was basically the position of the right.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. And I'm also a fan of Matt Walsh as well. And I like Ben Shapiro and all the ones that are kind of fighting that. But I think what they tend to do is just go on the strong man themselves, just going a man, like what is a woman argument, when it is much more complex than that.
So what is it?
And when it comes down to things like that, I said the same thing that you just said about Matt Walsh, is my boy is a boy and my girl is a girl. And I don't think I think I just guided them in their nature. I don't think I actually made my boy a boy. I don't think I made my girl a girl. But at the same time, it's the stereotype that we put out there when in his opening, if you watch his film again, it is when a 4-year-old boy is watching that and he sees a boy doing that, he's like, oh, well, boys don't do that. I'm not allowed to do that. Right. It's almost like a silent wind that and the grandparents, when they go, oh, well, that boy's a little light in the loafers. I mentioned this before. And I don't know if you watched the whole thing with Sarah and I, because I did step through each of these points. I mean, I've had talks with Balderson here too, right? I mean, we and his wife, where we think it's really important for a man to be a role figure for their son on how to be masculine. But at the same time, I think sometimes that masculine role from society becomes so overwhelming when they actually want to be something else, that now in today's society, in the newest version of genderism, that now they're allowed to go, oh, well, because I'm a boy, I'm not allowed to play with dolls, or I'm not allowed to make dresses. Because some of the best designers, that also, some of them are straight, are men, right? If a boy shows a tendency to that, the grandparents are going to be like, he's light in the loafers. They're all going to start programming his brain that he's not filling the male role. So where I say the men
How did you
got
get
it
that?
wrong is sometimes we're a little bit too harsh on our kids, where we can still teach them to be masculine, but allow them to do things that look like in society are kind of feminine traits. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but that's the right's position. That's what I'm saying, is you're straw manning the position and saying that we're only saying men have to do that, when I haven't heard anybody on the right say that. And
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
You're straw manning the position. No one on the right is saying that. You're just assuming that these grandfathers are going to make them feel bad. Like, you don't have any evidence. No,
I am going to strongman that. You know that you're on the right, right? You're on my side. I think not in this particular conversation, but overall, I think we're both right. Is that correct?
Besides that, to come to Vybe's defense, go back to the last 40, 50 years of history. How many Republican right-wing dudes who were anti-gay were found to be gay?
Yeah, but I don't understand what the relevance of that is. What I'm saying is that
it's very relevant. Maybe listen to my words.
We can get to that point, but let me just finish this point with him, which is no one on the right is making the claim that boys can't play with dolls. That's what I'm saying. I haven't heard anyone make that claim.
Okay. Maybe they're not making the claim, but you know, everybody on this panel knows.
The claim on the right is that men can't be women. That's the claim. It's not that they can't be feminine. It's not that, like, you also said that this stuff came out in like the 40s. They started having these terms for this stuff. Like, do you think people didn't notice this thousands of years ago, that there was flamboyant men? Of course they did. Like, you think Socrates and Galileo didn't know that there was flamboyant and obviously gay men around? They knew. Like, it's not something we just figured out. Like, we've known.
Andrew, I have a question for you. Are you completely rejecting my premise that us on the right tend to say men need to fill the masculine roles, and if they don't, and especially our grandparents, when they see those kids playing with a doll, that there's not a whisper, right? I'm not claiming that anybody like Matt Walsh is publicly saying, yeah, we're going to shame those kids, but you do know, and everybody on this freaking panel knows, that those kids are shamed when they don't fit the masculine role in a typical right family.
But that's not the position of the right.
This may not be the position, but you know it exists.
Yeah, maybe. So, like,
maybe. So it's real. So nobody's going, hey, we have to make sure all men are men. But
you said that the right broke it. You said it's the right's fault. That's what you said. You said
I'm saying it's both the right and the left fault. The left is making it worse, and we did it by not claiming it out loud, but doing it in our private families individually, that we all know. And one person tell me that this doesn't happen in families. Like everybody.
What do you mean? I see it on YouTube every
No.
second day, every single day. Vibe. So what he's saying is ridiculous. Well, I have hundreds.
It's not the position of the right.
Of hours
You're
of
just
show.
making stuff up. You don't know what happens inside every family on the right. You don't know if it's.
Here's my position.
Display it
This is what we're
publicly.
doing. Bullshit.
They display it publicly.
I mean,
So
what
I
do
was
you think
wondering,
gender norms are? They a lot of
They're
them
just
have to be
norms.
reinforced. Why do you think kids like go to college and then all of a sudden they come out to their parents as gay? It's because a lot of these reinforcements are against what some of the kids want to be, or they want to not disappoint their parents, or the parents are vehemently, sometimes violently against those things.
And
Like
everybody's
all these
okay
things
with that.
exist.
Sometimes
Effigy.
but that's
Everybody's
not the
okay with
position
that
of the
after
right.
they're 18.
But
right?
that's not the position of the right. So
I
I
would-
don't know what the relevance is. Yeah, some families suck. I guess
Also, because we keep talking, and like it's funny, you guys keep going down this, and it's like this is a conversation about gender. It's not none of the things you're saying have to do with like the sex of the person. You're talking about gender. Gender is behaviors, the behaviors you attribute to sex and how they correlate.
Gender's not a real thing.
Incorrect.
No, that's what I'm saying. These are the constructs. This is why you guys are moving around.
No. That's your 2020. That's your 2012.
You're literally having a
and
gender
forward.
conversation,
but
whether or not a boy can play with dolls. That's the gender conversation.
Pardon me, gentlemen. Let's at least go one at a time because it's going to start sounding like you're all eating dicks right now. So one at a time. Effigy, finish your thought, please.
I would personally like to hear what Effigy thinks gender is.
Gender are the behaviors and traditions we put onto or correlate highly to the sex of people, right? It's the things that are not immutable. So when we say girls wear dresses, only girls have long hairs. When we attribute things to sex, when we try to enforce these kind of norms on specific sex, those are gender, and it gets even deeper when you get into gender identity. But that's what you guys are talking about, and it seems strange that you keep talking about the idea in a very honest and earnest way, but you seem to divorce the idea that you're not talking about people's sex. You're not talking about male, female until you're talking about like the chromosomes and stuff. You're talking about a boy playing with a doll. You're talking about how you police gender.
Yeah. What is the base word for gender?
Does it matter?
I'm just wondering because are you even a gay person or anything like that?
No.
Okay. See, because like I've been only involved in this for 50 years, right? So you need to understand that
of a word is not relevant.
I'm attacked.
I'll not constantly call out the fallacies you keep using.
I'm attacked from the left and the right on a regular basis, right? So gender comes from genus. What's that?
How is that relevant?
I'm just kind of curious.
Because either we're living in reality or we live in a place where we cut off kids' genitals.
Do words and their uses change over time?
Yeah, they do.
I'm just asking what reality we live in. The one where
it's called the etymological. It's called the etymological fallacy. It's called the etymological fallacy.
No, I'm just wondering what reality we live in.
The history of
fallacy. The words have definitions, Brenda.
Willing to go, but everybody has to agree to it.
It's not about definitions. Etymology is about the history of a word. The history of a word is not determined its usage.
Just like how you're changing the word genocide.
How it came to that meaning. It's like
I have a
There's a
question.
reason my kitten's name is Genocide. It's in commemoration of the gay genocide. You don't care, and it's okay. I get it.
Cats are all genocidal maniacs.
No, you're more hateful than I am.
And I can ask you a question about that genocide thing. Why can't he just do the same thing you would do and store his sperm?
How are you going to do that when?
How would you have a kid?
when you got puberty blockers and mutilation at 15? How are you going to do that?
Does that?
In fact, some people do
have the forethought at 15. See, that's the problem that you guys don't even understand.
I didn't say at 15. I just said it's the same thing. You also have to artificially.
First trans lawsuit just went through. I did a show about 4 days ago, right? Before that, everybody said there's no proof that this is happening. 15 years old, they had a mastectomy. How's that person going to be able to fix that? Tell me.
I'm talking about adults.
Tell me how they're fixing it, bro. No, you asked me a question. I'm telling you what the facts are. How are they getting their breasts back? Tell me.
No, I'm not talking about children.
How's the
that
dude
are
who
abused.
gets
I'm
his
talking
dick
about
chopped
trans
off
adults that want-
at 15 going to get his dick back? How's he getting it back? How's he
Same thing for the
procreating? How's he going to
gays.
store his sperm? How's he
How's a
storing his sperm when
15-year-old
they
gay
cut off
person
his
gonna
dick?
have babies?
That's
Like,
what I
what are you
thought.
talking about, dude?
You have no. I'm answering your
comparing
question.
Apples to apples.
You
having-
don't
trying to have
like
an
the
honest
answer because
conversation.
it doesn't
Good faith
fit your
conversation.
agenda. But this is the
But
facts
being
of what's
gay is
happening.
sterilized.
Hold on.
You people live in a delusion.
Tenth only
I
cares
still
about a
need
tiny
you-
percentage of a tiny percentage of people. Everybody else can be damned because that's the only group of
Unreal.
people he gives a shit about.
Well, 10th is being very rude and disrespectful to Vibe and to the discussion.
10th, I just need you to be able to allow people the room to answer the
Sorry.
questions, because you are asking stuff and you're making claims, but you got to give
No,
them
he
the
asked me a
room.
question though.
But you still got to give the room to go back and forth. Okay.
Right.
I love you. I love it. But we got to be able to allow the
It's okay. You know I get upset with this one.
Bandit, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Wonderful. Nice to see you back again. Did you want to add something in?
I mean, my whole take is I was born in the 80s, so I kind of seen the whole gambit with the changes on this kind of stuff. My whole question is this. We had in the 90s where you had gay, straight, or bi. It was a binary. You were either straight or you were gay. And then for some
Or
reason,
bi.
wait, let me finish. And then you went into, we'll just say, the mid 2000s, where they started talking that things are on a spectrum. Now, a lot of people are getting hung up, especially the older people that I talk to, because we're used to the sexual preference being ambiguous with the gender. And when we were talking about it back in the day, gender and sexuality was the same term. If I wanted to know the sex, it was the scientific male or female. It was not. Now gender means something completely different. Like you're having the etymology of a word. Gender is a completely different term than what we're used to, what we call it with gender. Gender and sex were the same thing to us. Now that's not the case. Now it's on a spectrum of demisexual, whatever you want to call yourself today.
Isn't that okay though? What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that is plenty, because
why
you're subverting the word of what. Okay, so if we said back in the day that I'm looking at an apple, here's my comparison. I have an apple, and right now I was used to apple being red or yellow, but now that same apple is 4 different colors. But when I want to refer to that red apple, I have to come up when I'm trying to express what an apple is. It's not what it used to be. Because I used to know as an apple as either being red or yellow. Now that comes in oranges, sparkle.
No, they
But
come
are
in
you
green.
closer to the truth?
Granny Smith apples are green.
Can I ask Brenda a
with that?
question? Brenda, I'd like to ask
sure.
you a question. Is that okay?
Yeah, can I just land this real quick, and then you guys will have the floor.
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Hey, buddy, change it to almonds and then say you're allergic to almonds and then see if they give a fuck if you die.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Bandit.
I'm trying to be charitable for both sides. I'm telling you, the difference with the older generation is when we thought with gender and sex is 2 different words. So we're going over and saying, why does it matter? Why does sex have to be on a spectrum when it scientifically it's either you're straight or you're gay? And now we have versions of being gay and versions of being straight. And that's what the big holdup is with a lot of people, because when we're trying to talk about scientific terms, they're flipping between gender and sexuality all the time. When they want to use gender, we'll go with the gender definition. When we want to use the sexual difference as male and female, now we're going to say gender. So now you're dirtying up the place of what we're trying to have a conversation, because now words mean different. When everybody else back in the past, we knew gender and sex were the same thing. You're either straight, bi, or gay.
Nope, I agree with you. I'm a gay man. These people came along. They tried to change it. I'm not going to let them.
All right, so Bandit, just make the adjustment.
Well, I would make
no.
The
you make the adjustment.
If the one side wasn't going to be subvertive of what the means. So when I'm having a conversation with someone, that when I'm trying to have a gender discussion, now they're on the spectrum, or I'm sorry, I'll reframe that. But if I'm having a sexual conversation where I'm talking about male and female, the scientific, Now they're going to throw gender in there and muddy the whole conversation, and that's my problem. It's muddying the conversation.
That's
It's
okay.
not
You just use
No,
more
it's not okay.
sophisticated.
subvert what I'm
You
trying to
just
talk
use-
about.
You just use different words.
This is back you up, back up, Bandit here. So Brenda, why do we need gender? What is the purpose for having gender?
Yes.
It's something that has always existed in every human society.
No, it hasn't.
Yes.
I went through this at the beginning of this show.
Well, you're just
it hasn't
empirically
always
wrong.
existed, and it's brand new.
We can show that different civilizations have different behaviors and norms that they attribute to different sexes. Not,
Okay, so-
not for everyone in
Brenda,
history has always said women wear dresses.
Let Brenda
right?
answer. Okay. So Brenda, what is the importance of having a gender?
A gender is a social category, and all societies have had various degrees of gender categories.
Is that something you should teach kids?
Hold on.
It's not a personality.
Is gender a social role?
Yes, it's a social category.
Okay, and how many social categories do we need? Like you had mentioned earlier, I think it was you that said like, "Hey, this person's a fireman."
Yeah,
so
I said
is
that.
fireman a gender?
No, it's not. It's a social category, though, isn't it?
Okay. So outside of our professions and outside of our biological sex, we need to have an additional category called gender. And I'm curious, what does that gender category contribute to society? Why can't you be, I don't know, whatever you were born, and
I
be
am.
who you
I'll
are?
tell
Why
you.
can't you just be Brenda and not have a
Because
gender and just go,
don't-
I was born this way and I'm Brenda? Why can't you
Because
just be
it's
that?
my
Why do you
nature.
need a gender to
How I
define you?
am. Because it's
gender
how
is
I
now
am. I'm
personality.
just
Gender is
expressing.
linked to personality.
Just so you know, I'm transgender too.
Well,
I
you're
good job,
conflating.
buddy.
You're conflating personality and gender.
This is like
Somebody
saying,
strongman
why do
me.
I need to know my address? I live in America already. I've always
No, that's
known that I live in
completely
America.
irrelevant, effigy. So
It's about
because an
specificity.
address is where you get your mail. It's important. It actually has a
It's
purpose.
an analogy.
I am
No, that's what I was
asking,
saying. The
what is the
specificity is
purpose of
important.
a gender. Can
Well, that's where
somebody
it's
explain to me
effigy. What is the
that
specificity?
gender
of
has
that
an
word?
actual
One
purpose?
at a time. One at a time.
Anybody
I
explain to
didn't
me
hear
why
you.
gender has a purpose?
Gender is a new personality. So we're labeling
No.
personality types as a
Doesn't
gender.
matter. I have a personality. I'm an introvert. New personality, great. What does that contribute to society? Why do I have to be a gender? Why do I have to associate? Why do I have to be cis? Why do I have to be trans?
This is
Why do I have to be this?
revealing behaviors
What
they
is
were
that?
already doing.
Because they're using
Personality decides
they're
who
u-
you are. Why can't you
I'll-
just be who you are without a gender?
I'll answer.
I
you.
am being
I'll-
who I am. This is
It's
me.
It's the whole
But
point.
why do you need a gender for that? Can't
Because
you be
gender-
without a
Because you already had one.
because
You already
gender is
express
used-
yourself in a gendered way. And
They wanna
sometimes you
get
don't
rid
fit
of
into
the
other people's
binary.
categories. So now you sometimes have to make up your own. And then you find out that
See,
other
that's
people
the
actually fit
dumbest
into your
thing I've ever
category.
heard.
Yeah, that's
It's-
not how
make up a
language
new
works.
category and say, well, I have this new category and now I'm part of this category and you guys figure out what you are in that category. Dumb, stupid.
It's because
Yep, it
it's
sure
because
is.
they want to get rid of the binary, so they want to put on a spectrum. So instead of it being gay, straight, and bi, it's now
I'm also
layers
non-binary.
of gay, straight, and bi.
And
that's-
I want to make
that's
sure
the
that Brenda
difference.
knows I'm
One of
not
the-
actually trashing her. I am literally saying that gender has no purpose except
course
for
it does.
when we're training our kids. Now
Gender
we're
does have
introducing
no
that into their
purpose.
brains,
Now you're getting it, Bob.
It's
and we
how
don't
we
even
talk.
need to be doing that.
Gender is how we talk about different people within society.
To kids, right?
And
Just
speaking
like
of
adults
talking
can figure that
about
out.
different
Benefit
people
of
in
having a gender
society,
is-
IO10 comes in with the big 10 and says most people understand they can't change their sex. Leave the kids alone and let the adults do what they want, but not with my tax money. And beyond that, I don't see the big deal. Would anybody, Vybe, I'll give it to you first. You want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of completely agree with that. Yeah, leave the kids out of it. Keep it out of the kids'
I am going
brains.
to agree also. I'm
Vybe,
going to.
Vybe, would you like to chime in on that?
That
Yeah,
was fine.
and I agree.
I know, and Vybe wasn't done finishing his statement.
I'm sorry,
Thank you.
Let the adults do what the adults do. Whether I agree with it or not, let me as an adult come here and talk to Brenda and 10th and like Effigy and let us hash it out, right? No reason to fucking corrupt our kids' brains with this stuff and even put it in their ideas, right? Like this is the nature versus nurture thing. Like let's not, because when we bring this into our kids' brains, we're nurturing our kids with this ridiculousness of gender, right? My kids don't need a gender. They don't need a gender. They were born male or female. That's it. It's
And
easy.
I want to
and
take
gender is going to end up being what you want it to be.
I would
You
like to
shape it.
take this time to let everyone know I do have Steve from the AM Wake Up hanging out backstage. Hi, Steve. And we can't get him up here unless you boot someone else off. So the choice is yours. And while you're considering who you'd like to kick the fuck out of here, don't forget you have that dono goal. You've got 10 minutes left to complete it. Remember, I'm just a poor, unfortunate YouTuber trying to make her way through life. And if you could send in an easy $10 out of the kindness of your heart, you can help support this show and keep shit running. All right. I'll hand it back to Brenda because I know she had something to add in on that.
I wanted to actually kind of agree. I think that this is true, is that actual sexual reassignment surgery is not given to children, and not until you're above 18.
You're saying it should not be, right? That's what you're saying?
So, and
not that it isn't.
They're given hormone blockers and things which are at least potentially reversible, and so
Not
no surgically permanent procedures ought to be done on under 18-year-old children. And I agree with that.
No procedures at all, right? Including hormone blockers?
Hormones are not a procedure.
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
No, they're not. They're drugs.
They're a treatment. They're a treatment.
Oh my God.
It's not a surgical procedure.
Okay, Goebbels. Okay, Goebbels.
Yeah, we go from 0 to 1,000 with
How
Jesus
can you
Christ.
not understand that you're saying the same thing as Goebbels?
Wait,
Because I'm not.
how is forcing someone to
You
take
are.
someone the same as stopping someone from taking something?
And while we're thinking of that one, Tootie Bug kicking it off to hit the dono goal, sends in the Big Ten and says, "Let's go, Lady Maters." Yes, we are matriarchy versus the patriarchy. Now, Ross Khan does have a female avatar on their donos from earlier. So I don't know if I'm counting it towards, because is Ross a girl? I don't know. Is Ross a girl or boy? I'm counting it towards.
Yes, Ross is my sister. I brought her over here for you guys. She's
All right,
awesome.
so the matriarchy is ahead of the curve by a lot, gentlemen. They are kicking your ass tonight. So Lady Maters are in the lead. Lewis Cunt with the Big Ten sends in the Big Ten super sticker to say nothing at all. I love those the best. Ayatin sends in the Big Ten and says, "Don't F it up, chat." Yeah, you know what happens when you guys mess it up, and I get incredibly cranky. And when I get cranky, heads roll. The queen will speak very loudly with the axe. Hockey Chib with the Big Ten says, "Vibe, Dragon Fist. If my kid is born having the perfect characteristics of a football player, why would I, as a parent, try to switch them to another sport?"
Yeah, I don't really even understand that question. Why would you?
Right. Well, he's saying, why can't we promote the good? Hey, what's up, Hockey Chip? Good to see you. Why can't we promote the good? Like, you're almost saying, like, not to show on the movie that the girl's playing with the doll and the boy's playing with it. Like, if we're going to promote something, it should be the normal thing. If something's going to be promoted and shown, why would we promote something else? Because then you're just brainwashing in the opposite direction.
Well, I don't know.
Why does every gay person on televisions and movies have to be flaming?
They don't.
They aren't.
They're
what
not.
are you talking about? What year are you living in? So that super chat is another.
Show me the not
thing where
flaming one.
someone said that. Could you put the super chat back up?
Mm-hmm.
There's another example of someone saying, because you are this, you must be this, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they have the characteristics of a football player, that they must be a football player. What does it matter what they actually want to be, right?
No,
That's
he's
the exact
saying,
same
why
thing
would
as
you
saying
change that if that's what they're doing. If
Dude,
they're
I mean,
already doing it,
nowhere in here does it say that the kid wants to play football. That's my point.
why would I switch them to another sport?
Well, I
Also
mean,
not
it could be
saying
another
that
point. They could be making the other
because-
point where they're saying if my son has these light and loafer characteristics, why wouldn't I promote him being gay? Right?
Why do you keep saying
maybe that's
that?
where they're going? I don't know.
Why do you keep saying light the loper, right? What generation are you from? I mean, how old is that?
It was in the movie.
Trust me, I am old, and yes, that was part of my
I'm older
generation.
than you.
But
I'm older than you.
it is a humorous take on that. The people from my generation definitely chastised men or women for not fitting in their roles. And Brenda, I think you actually understand that because I'm actually on this criticizing that exact role. That when people do say things like "light in the loafers," I think that's wrong. Right?
I'm partially in agreement with you.
I don't think
I would argue something
I
like
disagree.
forced.
I
It's not
partly agree
natural,
with
is it?
Vybe.
Describing them. Why is it wrong?
It's not wrong. That's what I'm talking about. Everybody became such pussies now that we're cutting off kids' genitals, and we can't just to take a little joke once in a
Not what
while.
they do.
I get picked on
Right, you keep
daily
saying this
by
over and over.
dozens of people on these panels. We joke around about being gay. It's not a big deal. But then people want to make a big deal out of it because, you know what? They're trying to shield the fact that they want to talk to kids about this stuff. I'm not saying anybody here does, but, we heard ought not to earlier. But before this week, I heard there are no reassignment surgeries being done on anybody under 18. But the first lawsuit has gone through. So just because I don't have proof doesn't mean it's not true. These things happened. This is happening. And as I've said, we just had another pew pew incident here in Canada today or yesterday. What does a man do that has nothing left to lose after they cut off his dick?
That's not what's
Exactly
done,
that.
by the way.
Exactly that. They just go ballistic because they were lied to, and there's no one there for them after they've transitioned. I've talked to these people.
Was it a
no
trans
one
person
cares.
who did the
The
shooting? I didn't
same
even see
people.
that.
No, I've asked these people
Was
at
it?
the Salvation Army in these places. I'm like, so when the person decides
Well, I guess
after
that makes
the
it like
fact,
300 to like 3, right? As far as
wanna
like
be
white
trans
straight males
anymore.
versus LGBT.
No, they're like all
help them.
LGBT. All of
Help
them.
Are they? Are they really?
Scared to listen.
Are
you gonna help them?
Let me reset. Chad Vincent with a big 10 says rough debate. Let's toss in queer and non-binary for more crazy. Yeah, we've got a representative of everything going on this panel tonight. So yeah, we just went all sorts of different directions.
Yeah, and I've got 8 minutes left, so I have to jump off and start prepping my kids for bed.
I'll keep yelling at people for you, Vybe. Don't worry.
Hey, Vybe, I want to say to Vybe, actually, I think that there's parts where I disagree and parts where I do agree with what you've said. I think that your word choices, like with light and the lopers, is kind of dated, but in general, your idea of being a gender eliminativist is kind of intriguing, and I think that maybe in the end that's might be where people go to, or where it simply doesn't matter anymore how you express yourself. I'm kind of in favor of that.
Yeah, and I talked with Sarah about this before even the show. She's like, "Oh, you're going to get a lot of S word for this," and I'm like, "Probably," but I think I actually have a good enough prescription that is not actually anti-trans, anti-gay, but it is the reality, right? That we're born one way, we have a sex, and I know that's a big controversy, but can't we just be a boy that like one of my favorite comedians is Eddie Izzard, and Eddie Izzard, he calls himself the executive transvestite, right? He plays lots of masculine roles in movies, but he shows up and tells great jokes on stage, dressed up in high heels and
yeah, he's a transvestite. He's a crossdresser.
Yes, and he pushed the boundary as far as he could in the time, right?
Yeah, but that's what he's comfortable with. But if somebody wants to go further than that, they should be able to. And I
But
kind
why
of
do
think
they
that,
need to
that
have
you're
a
saying they should,
name for it? Why can't it just
because
be
they
them?
want
Why
to.
can't you just be the person you
There's
are?
a group of them, and they're
But
just
that
like, holy
is
shit,
the
we're alike.
person they are. That
People's
is
happiness?
who they are.
1
That
minute for
is who they
donation
are.
goals.
So I mean,
Donation goals.
So, I mean,
Donation
why
goals.
do you feel that you have to change your sex? It's because
It's my
and
it's because
tell me
it's
if I'm
my
wrong.
choice.
Let me-
That's why.
let me
Basically, it
finish.
comes down to it's my choice.
No, but let me finish this.
Let me hold for just a
feel-
second because Steve, I think, wanted to come up specifically to ask Vybe a question. 10th, if you don't mind, I'm just going to put you backstage for just a couple minutes and let Steve come up and get his questions into Vybe before Vybe has to go. Okay. All right, we're going to trade one loud one for another. Steve, I at least wanted to give you the opportunity.
I love Vybe. Vybe, no, I do. Vybe is a wonderful, beautiful, wholesome, healthy, happy human being. And I want to make that like perfectly clear. I don't have any animosity towards this individual whatsoever.
All right, bring it on.
I do think, brother, that you are deeply immersed in a I don't know, like a freaking hidey hole, right? I don't even know how to describe it any way better, but you've like built a cocoon for yourself where the reality of the world that you live in will never infiltrate that. And I love that for you. I do. But my brother in Christ, there's no left and there's no right. There is a uniparty that hates you and wants to destroy your family, and they do everything under the sun together in coordination to make sure that you, my brother in Christ, don't have a successful family. And I would just love to get you out of the mindset that a uniparty hell-bent on giving all of your tax dollars that they stole from you to Israel and other genocidal nations aren't in your best interest. That's it, man.
Okay.
I love you. I do. I really do. I have nothing but respect.
Can I respond?
Yeah.
I 100% agree with your opening statement that one of the reasons I'm fighting against this gender thing and the idea of nature and nurture, and that our nurture. So nature equals sex, nurture equals gender. And the reason I'm trying to squash the whole gender conversation here is because I believe it is destroying our families. So your opening statement where the whole objective is to destroy our families, I 100% agree that it is destroying our families. Now I'm bringing it into a thing where I'm actually looking a lot deeper than everybody else. Instead of just saying what is a woman and saying you suck, I'm actually trying to bring in the proof, the evidence, and how the brain works.
Can we see the
the
evidence?
reality, right? But I do agree with you, and I love you too, my brother.
What's the evidence that gender destroys families? What are you saying, man? That's bizarre. How could you even say that? What is the evidence for that? Do you have evidence for that?
Wait, I'm sorry. What was your question?
You're saying gender destroys families? The very idea of gender, which we've had since the beginning of human history. How could it destroy families? What's the evidence for that? What is your evidence? You said you had evidence, right? What's the evidence?
I gotta jump in here. Hold on. The concept of gender only came in more recent decades, right? Families were doing just fine until then, right?
I'm just looking at this guy's name, Toronto Bible Study, and I'm presuming that he has a very traditional conservative view of things. And I don't think he quite understands what Vybe is saying, unless I'm completely mistaken.
Well, I'm just waiting for evidence. You said he had evidence. That would be interesting. I regardless of my conservative views or whatever, I'm willing to look.
My conservative
I
view
don't think
is
you listen to enough of the conversation to understand what he means when he says gender by that.
No, there's always been gender. It's just been ubiquitous in societies.
Well, you're incorrect, Effigy. So originally, it was
there has
Hold on. Vybe only has a few minutes. Please let him finish his thought.
So originally, sex equaled gender, and gender equaled your role in society. That is like postmodern how it worked. There was no gender, there was no role. Sex equaled role and what you did and what you were responsible for.
That's
Later
not
on,
postmodern.
it started changing, right? And it changed very rapidly from 1950 to 2021, right? And this whole thing of gender. This is why I'm trying to. It used to not exist, and people were pretty happy when it didn't exist. People are really unhappy now that it exists. That's why I'm just saying, like, you don't even need gender anymore, but we do confuse our kids because their brains are like absorbing all of this BS that we're all spewing out there, and they don't know how to handle it.
You're just empirically wrong. Every society for thousands of years has had gender. Everything has been gendered. Learn a language, for instance, French, la and le, right?
Yeah,
they're gendered.
Yeah, it refers to
what
sex.
he's suggesting
It
is
meant
that
the same thing.
No, because what he's saying is that we never really.
When those languages are created, gender and sex were the same thing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
there's a
That's
feminine
what I
and
was
there's a
talking
masculine
about.
word in those languages,
Yeah,
but there
we still
wasn't
have
gender when the feminine and masculine was
You're just
created. in that
empirically
language, right?
wrong. You're just
You're just
empirically
completely
wrong.
off base.
You're just
You're
empirically wrong.
Men being warriors is a gender role.
Yes, it was
Shout
a gender,
out
like
to
I said,
Ivan
in
for
the
making me
beginning,
a
it was
happy
sex equals
potato
gender
once
equals role.
more by dropping in the big 10 to complete the goal. Good job, chat. Now I don't have to yell at you. Instead, I'm just going to yell at everyone else up here on panel. All right, bye. Back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, Brenda's correct. Yeah, there is masculine and feminine in the Romance languages, French and Spanish, and all those things. But at that time, there wasn't a gender when those roles were the masculine.
Sure. Did dinosaurs exist
So
before we had the
empty.
word dinosaurs?
So, I mean, it's just like you're taking something today and pushing it in the past that didn't exist in the
Yes.
past. Back
Yes,
then,
we're labeling things.
But
Yes.
you're misunderstanding it. We're naming something today that always existed. We just now we came to name it.
We recognize it.
But it's
no,
always
it used
been-
to be
it's been there.
sex equals role.
Wait,
Yeah,
and then Vybe
Yes,
making
they're
the
highly correlated.
contention.
Yes.
There's always been a gender division of labor. There's always been a gendered roles in families, in society. That's always been the case. So now we
I
name
said
it.
that.
Yeah, I agree. So I agree with you that only now that we named it, and before we didn't name it, but now that
Okay,
we
we named
now-
it, then we changed it, and then we changed it again, and then we changed it again, right? So I went through all this, right? I already talked about all of this. It started off that sex equals gender equals role. Then it turned into sex equals gender equals potential role based on your capability. Then it turned into sex equals I'm capable of doing this role even if I'm not in that particular sex, and this is my gender. Now sex doesn't even exist. Gender is the only thing that exists, and that is your sex.
What are you talking about? How does
Well,
sex not
okay,
exist?
what do you mean
I
sex
thought
is-
the prompt was
Yeah,
the left
okay.
and the right are doing it
That's
wrong.
what we are today.
Sex
No,
is
it's
about-
not.
He's
No one is
making
saying
the
that.
claim. He's making
It's whatever
the
I want.
claim.
I'm a
that-
girl. That's my sex.
Oh, you're saying that people can just
No,
choose.
no one is saying that. Why does the right can't they get this through their heads?
Hey, Vybe, don't let anyone tell you you are not a beautiful baddie. All right,
pretty
I
princess
believe in
all the
you,
way through.
and I think that you are smoking.
Vybe actually has a valid point. I have a 1989 Webster's Dictionary. Some of us don't trust the internets. And in here, the definition of gender, the classification of words or the class of which a word belongs by virtue of such classification, according to the sex of the referent natural gender or according to arbitrary distinctions of form and syntax, grammatical gender.
Yes.
It was just used to make a gendered word. So if a woman is doing it, like in German, if a woman's doing it, the word is different than if a man is doing it.
Also,
all-
gender
that's
role
all
of
that
children sounds much less creepy than the sex role of children.
So
Even
human
though
history
grammatically they
has,
would be the same thing.
so throughout all of human history,
I
going back
read the
thousands
definition.
of years,
Made up your
thousands
own.
of years, not to
That's awesome.
not to the mid 20th century, but thousands of years, right? There's always been gender.
No,
Nobody said it wasn't.
Yeah, no, Vybe,
You
Vybe,
just
you're
say it wasn't called
the way
gender.
you're using these terms is very confusing for
I
most
mean,
people. Don't.
We're arguing
just
over
ask the
words.
Greeks. Just ask the Greeks if their society was maybe a little bit different than ours. Holy crap.
Can I say one thing? Because I think we're just arguing over back and forth. What they're saying, I can't believe I'm defending the position of the people that think gender always existed. But what they're saying is it was always a concept. It just wasn't labeled as gender. And what you're saying is, no, gender. We never use this thing gender. So like you guys are saying basically the same thing.
But that's just wrong because there's societies where they acknowledge different, at least 3 genders.
But they didn't use the word gender. That's
They
what
they didn't
gender
speak
was
English
exclusively for languages.
They didn't speak English. They spoke a different language, and then in their language they had different words for 3 different genders.
I'm defending you. I'm
defending
you.
Guys, I have to jump off.
All right, everybody, shut up. Vibe, you would like to make your exit.
It's family time, and if you guys really hate me, then I really suggest you subscribe to me and banter me and trash me and give me the worst thing you can give me. Like
I don't hate you.
I want to hear the worst. So subscribe to me at Vybe on YouTube or Vybe on Kick or Vybe on X. It's always Vybe on whatever channel it is. If you like me, you don't need to subscribe. I don't need an echo chamber. Don't really need people that agree with me. I just want to argue with all the people that disagree. But I love everybody on the panel. Brenda, by the way, too. Also,
yeah.
I don't love you too. Like no hate.
I don't
there.
hate you either. I don't hate you either. I think you're mistaken. I think you should check out some people other than Matt Walsh, like maybe Robert Sapolsky or somebody who's actually knows what the fuck.
Definitely not Ben
about.
Shapiro. Definitely not that one. I was all right with you.
No, I pointed those guys out because they're kind of the what is a woman crew, right?
Expand your horizons beyond the manosphere.
One of his
Can we just let Vibe make his exit?
I actually heard Ben Shapiro once actually say, I think we need to eliminate gender and just be who we are, right? And I think it's the calling. And I only ever heard him say that once, and I think I never heard him say it again because I know it goes against his character. Because what is the woman that Matt Walsh does and all that stuff brings tons of click, tons of bait. Matt Walsh knows what I said is correct. Ben Shapiro knows what I said is correct. It just doesn't make good content if you actually dig down into the reality of it. So like what is the woman? It's true. It is basically just trashing in simplicity gender. We don't need gender. We can get rid of gender. The left is screwing it up tremendously, I personally think, by enforcing it and actually now trying to teach it to our children and putting it in the mainstream. I think we just need to get rid of it. So that's me. I'm out. Sarah, thank you so much for letting me have this time. I'm going to spend some time with my family. And like I said, no hate here. I'll argue with everybody anytime. And I appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you, Vibe. Have a wonderful night. And if you are watching over on the Raging Tomato on YouTube, please start making your way over to the Gauntlet. Now I am shutting down on the Raging Tomato side. Vibe, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect yours as well, because who knows where it's going to go from here. And shout out to Andy. Bring 10th man back up. Andy, I love Andy. Andy comes in and says with the Big 10, gender comes from the Latin genus, Greek genos, which means kind. Both terms refer to the order of being and predication, not the order of psychology, which is the modern way of understanding it. That's lovely. And I'm going to hold that for just a second. Again, if you're watching over on the Raging Tomato on YouTube, we are moving. So if you're watching, if you just got raided over here to Trippy's, hang on. We're going to raid over to the Gauntlet. The show is continuing, but we're going to continue over there. Thank you so much. Closing it down now. If you know where you're going, go. Otherwise, catch the raid. All right. And then let's see here. I don't know what he's got going on here.
Oh, you know what? I got